Today, I wanted to talk about one of the biggest roadblocks in the NHL signing market today. He's not a roadblock because he's holding things up. He's not a roadblock because he's being unreasonable. But because of the way the NHL salary system is structured now and heading into the next few years. With all this in mind, let's take our focus over to the New Jersey Devils and start talking about the third in a brother-family trio of extraordinarily talented hockey players. Today we're talking about Devils defenseman Luke Hughes. Now, we have acknowledged Luke's name in the past few days. We did make a video talking about Montreal Canadiens defenseman Lane Hutson and how his contract situation is going. Reports in those talks talked about how Luke Hughes can be seen as one of the big benchmarks and somewhat of a canon event for the NHL as a whole. Lane Hutson doesn't have a contract yet because Luke Hughes doesn't have one yet. At least at the time of me recording this audio. Maybe by the time the video is public on YouTube, maybe Hughes has signed a deal, and I look like a total fool. But let's get into how Luke Hughes and this situation with the Devils is potentially holding up the market. Hughes is 21 years old, 6'2", 198, a left-handed defenseman who currently is unsigned. He just wrapped up his entry-level contract, playing 3 seasons with the New Jersey Devils. He had 4 points in 5 games at the end of 22-23. 2 of those games were playoff games. He had 47 points in 82 games in his first season with New Jersey. And then he had 44 points in 71 games the most recent season with New Jersey. He's very good, this young Luke Hughes, ultimately getting himself up there as one of the top young D-men in the league. Quinn is amazing, Jack is amazing, Luke is the youngest and the biggest. There are a lot of tools here that make him a valuable New Jersey Devil right now, but he still needs a contract. This was a video clip posted by BPM Sports Talk Radio that dives into what Marco D'Amico said earlier yesterday about Luke Hughes. It's actually a conversation about Lane Hutson again, as we had discussed, but Hutson absolutely wants to stay in Montreal. He's in love with the fans in the city. We're closely monitoring the situation between Mason McTavish and the Anaheim Ducks and Luke Hughes in the New Jersey Devil system. In your opinion, what will be the next contract for Lane Hutson in Montreal? That's not really all too relevant in this conversation. Luke Hughes is, though. And to explain why, we're going over onto Marco D'Amico's article from RG.org a few days ago, too. We had spoken about this article in discussing the Lane Hutson talks, but if you scroll down, this is where Luke Hughes and his name gets brought up here. So we have to talk about the RFA market reset. Unlike last summer, when the Canadiens moved quickly to sign Juraj Slafkovsky and Kaiden Guhle, both eligible for offer sheets in 2025, coupled with an uncertain salary cap environment, Lane Hutson's situation carries far less urgency and more hesitancy. This summer has been a peculiar one when it comes to the signing of RFAs, especially coming out of the flat cap era. With long-term visibility into an aggressive increase in the salary cap at roughly $9.5 million per season, RFAs are signing different variations of contracts. NHL insider Elliotte Friedman mentioned on his most recent 32 Thoughts that there is an expected market reset ongoing, as the rapidly rising cap creates an unprecedented situation for players. Never in the history of the NHL salary cap era has the cap increased so aggressively before, and it sent GMs and agents for a loop when it comes to setting a benchmark for normalcy. Look at Matthew Nye signing for 6 years instead of max term like we've seen all the other top RFAs in the past. Same for Wyatt Johnston at 5 years, said an NHL player agent. Now you have key impending RFAs like Cooley, Bedard, Fantilli, and Leo Carlsson all eligible to extend, and everyone is waiting to see which group blinks first. GMs continue to have discussions to try and get their RFAs signed sooner rather than later. However, there hasn't been a high-value RFA coming out of their ELC to sign an extension in this new reality yet, with Luke Hughes being the next big name to be owed a contract. For someone like Lane Hutson, all eyes are likely on what the Devils decide to do with Luke Hughes, said another NHL source. Can you really offer him more than his brother Jack? Does that impact his term then? All these things come into play, but it'll also impact negotiations across the NHL, as agents or GMs will use the Luke Hughes deal as a benchmark. That resolution on Luke Hughes' contract should be coming shortly, with less than 60 days before the start of the NHL season. Along with the other RFAs mentioned above, the market for signings could then shake loose and give more clarity on where the contract space is heading for players. That will give the Canadiens and Lane Hutson's camp a stronger base to work with. So this is a really interesting thought to dive into as well. If we go over to Puckpedia and we take a look at the New Jersey Devils, they've got about $6.1 million in cap space right now. We all recognize that Jack Hughes is one of the best contracts in the league. He's making $8 million a year, all the way up there until, 29, 30. I mean, that's a lot of money, but that's a really solid dollar amount for a guy like Jack Hughes, who can be in a consistent 90-point territory every single year. Luke Hughes, on the other hand, is projected to being on a decor that includes $4 million AAV Kovacevic, $4 million AAV Brendan Dillon, $5.5 million AAV Brett Pesce, $9 million AAV Dougie Hamilton. Do you give Luke a little bit more dough than his brother Jack? If you give him more than Jack, by the way, Luke will be the most paid Hughes brother in the NHL. Quinn's only making 7 point something. But the question is, has Luke Hughes really earned a contract that is in that $8+ million territory? We know he probably can be that good in a few years, but I'd argue that he isn't really there yet. And the way that he's played, maybe a consistent 40 to 50, 55 even, plus point defenseman in this age range with the way that he impacts the game, you can say that's maybe $7 million caliber. Is that something that he and his party would be willing to go to if it's a bridge deal? Does he want to maximize his earning potential? Honestly, the fact that Quinn and Jack have both signed on to pretty cheap deals compared to what they're actually worth nowadays makes me think Luke will follow in the same footsteps. It doesn't seem like these Hughes bros are after all the money possible that they can get. It just seems like they want to be on good teams, and probably with each other. Cue the music when Quinn Hughes inevitably leaves Vancouver and signs in New Jersey. But I wanted to make this video just to acknowledge the reality of the NHL right now. How Luke Hughes and his contract holdup seems to be a roadblock for the rest of the NHL, which includes the Lane Hutson conversation in Montreal. With all this in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How much do you think Luke Hughes signs for? What do you think the dollar amount is, and how long is the contract? And is this going to work out well for the New Jersey Devils long term? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.